what happened in round 6, the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. Oh, welcome back to XRS. Welcome back to the season. I hope we all had an amazing Christmas, amazing New Year. And 2024 started off with an absolute banger of a weekend. Probably one of my favourite weekends we've had so far here in XRS. It was round 2 of our European middle section of the season. But it was round 6. It was the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. And just before we start, we have got a new format. Notice I haven't put part 1 in this video. This is the podcast for Spain. This is going to cover the entire podcast. We haven't got this divide, this complete division of the two parts of the podcast. No, everyone's going to come together, all 4 divisions, for one video. We're going to chat about the entire weekend all together. I think we'll all enjoy it much more that way. And we are going to begin with the division that kind of led us off into the weekend, the first race in 2024, and it was Division 4 here in Spain. Start off with an absolute banger. Continuing, can I just say, this incredible streak of front row starts. There's always been a Williams on the front row in Division 4, and that continues. Melvin, once again, fantastic quali lap. But instead of doing this this race rundown, you've got the highlights for that. You can see the race rundown yourself. We're going to go straight into my opinions, where it all gets controversial. We're going to go straight into driver winner. That's what we're going to do around here. Driver winner, for me, in Division 4, it was Melvin for me. What unbelievable drive from him. Now, at the start of the sprint race, both drivers on the front row, of course it was a sprint weekend, both drivers on the front row accidentally lifting off the clutch too early and they're getting themselves a drive-through penalty. That was Baldy on his first race in XRS, and of course Melvin as well. That was hugely detrimental. That demoted them straight to the back. Of course they had the other half of the sprint and of course the feature race to catch up. What an unbelievable drive from Melvin, strapping on those softs in the second half, in the second stint, in the feature race, catching Liam on the final lap, and through the final sector they had a massive battle. That was really exciting to see because throughout the entire race, Liam had completely dominated. Throughout the entire race weekend almost, including the sprint race, Liam was pretty much untouchable. But for Melvin to come through without that drive-through, we can only wonder what would have happened had Baldy and Melvin not made that mistake. Could they have challenged Liam the whole way through the race? That is very potential, but what unbelievable comeback from Melvin to secure a P2. He wasn't quite able to beat Liam, but what a drive from the McLaren man. But it's not a drive to be forgotten. What a brilliant job from Williams. They're continuing on their fight in the OCC with Red Bull, and this has really gotten them some gains. Red Bull struggled in this race, finishing P6 with Pistol Peter, and yeah, it was a very good drive. Driver loser though, on the other side of the garage, we're going to talk about the McLaren man. It is Blake. Very unfortunate for his first drive as a new team principal. Of course, Millard has left and it has allowed Blake to step up to this big role. He had a surprisingly poor qualifying, starting down in P9, but what a brilliant sprint. He was really utilising all the mistakes up ahead. Of course, the 2 drivers ahead that got the drive-through, and he managed to get up to P3. It was a 1-3 for McLaren in the sprint with Dan Duggar splitting the 2. What a brilliant drive from Blake. Very consistent, just picking up positions where he could. And it was almost unnoticed, actually, how good his sprint was until we realised, he's up there at the front. So that was going to be, it was looking like it was going to be a really exciting feature race for the team in Papaya. However, going into turn 1, he was rear-ended and actually taken out of the race with a collision going into turn 1. That is so unbelievably unlucky for Blake, who he hasn't had the easiest start of the season. He's yet to get a podium, I believe, which is really surprising considering his performances. He's had plenty of P4s, 5s, 6s. But yeah, to get taken out so early, so only managed to do 11 laps because of the sprint, and not even able to finish the first lap of the race after such a fantastic sprint. Yeah, I have to give it to him. For my team winner, I am going to say Alpine. Again, very, very underrated drive by both of them. They started fairly low down, as you'd expect. Div 4 Alpine have not been a particularly standout division for the team. In fact, they've actually been driver loser a few times this season. I believe in China they got it, and in Qatar as well, I think. But this was a complete turnaround. They were running, I think, like 3 and 5 or something, or 4 and 6 at some point in the sprint. Really, really mature drive from Peekaboo and from Sergio Gamir. They ended up finishing the race in 4 and 9. Unreal. That's both of their best finishing positions of the season. And that was in the feature race as well. In the sprint, they got very solid points too. I will say a minor mistake from Sergio Gamir and resetting to track. That's something that obviously Beaked will have to step in and handle. But speaking of Beaked, his first full race weekend as a new team principal, and look at what he's achieved. Straight away, the first race back, Alpine scoring nearly the highest scoring points race they have had this season, and obviously with the sprint, it's really helped out as well. Fantastic, and it really shows that there's real potential in Peekaboo and in Sergio Gomez that we potentially haven't seen so far this season because they have been struggling at the back. But this is really exciting for Alpine as they charge up the field. Currently as recording this, all 4 races have happened, but the Div 1 results have not come out yet. And of course, Haas did very well in that race. But as of right now, Alpine have overtaken Haas in the OCC. That is unreal, given how far behind they were and how poor their season has started. What a brilliant job from Beaked, and I can only applaud his fantastic ability to bring this team up. And I'm very excited to see what they can do later into the season. My team loser, and it goes without saying, this is, I think, everyone's team loser. It's going to be Ferrari, and they've been my team loser in this division a couple of times now. And it's slightly upsetting because as a Ferrari driver myself, I look forward to seeing them do well. But to give you a rundown on their race, they were running net P1 and P3 due to the drive-throughs up ahead at the start of the sprint. Liam was obviously very quick, got past Vlad quite quickly. That's okay. They were in good position. They actually collided in the sprint, collided together. Dan hit Vlad due to lag and due to a bit of a spike, and sent Vlad spinning. That was twice, I think, that Vlad ended up spinning that race, making very good comeback drives, fair enough. Dan, however, on the other side, I believe he sped in the pit lane, which is another silly mistake as well, giving him a 5-second. I don't think that costed him a position in the end. He was able to beat Pistol Peter by just enough. The Ferraris ended up finishing 5 and 6 in the feature race. Not too bad considering, but very disappointing given where they were. They weren't able to compete with neither Melvin or Baldy, who got a drive-through, and they both beat both Ferrari drivers. And for them to just about beat Pistol Peter through penalties, fair enough. Vlad stayed off the track limits. Dan wasn't so lucky on that side, and it's a race where the points were good, but the points weren't as good as they could have been. It's a very what-if race for them, and I think that it's so detrimental when teammates collide and spin the other one. I think that might be the first time this happened this season, like properly, one driver has spun out. So this is the first time across all divisions, across all teams. So I don't think Ferrari would have been wanting to be the team that broke that and started that trend. So I think it's definitely something for the team principal to look into. Right, we move on to my neck of the woods. We move on to Division 3. And I'm going to start off with the driver winner. In my opinion, the driver winner for me is definitely going to go to Neek, to Yeetmex. What a brilliant drive from her. That was a completely surprising drive. I don't think anyone saw how good she was going to be. Started P3, unbelievable qualifying, and her highest qualifying of the season by an absolute year. Of course, at this point, she was reserving for Alpine. I believe she will be getting a seat in Alpine too, very soon. Completely deserved. I completely think that was deserved. She dropped down to P7 in the sprint, but what a brilliant race. Very consistent, and managed to make it back up to a P3 podium. Not much more to say other than just a fantastic and surprising drive. I think that really what sticks out for me is not only the fact that it's really good points for Alpine, but it was just such a consistent drive from her, and we didn't see it coming. If you look down at the name of drivers, we weren't expecting Yeetmex to be up at the front there. So really, really strong, and a racing seat that is definitely deserved. And I'm so happy to be racing alongside her once again. It's been a while. Driver loser, I'm going to say me. And reason being, I think I could have won that race. I think I would have won that race, but after penalties, I would have won the race. But myself and Big B coming together on the final lap, and it's spinning me out of contention. I ended up finishing P4, but after, quite a poor qualifying from me. I started P7, made it up to P3 in the sprint. Again, could have been P2, but another collision with Big B. But still a very solid sprint getting up into P3. Jumped Gontamoon off the line, and from there my eyes were set on P1. I wasn't going to get CGM Glass. His drive was absolutely unreal. Actually, I want to just give a shout out to him. CGM Glass, unbelievable. This is the first time he's been genuinely faster than me. In a race, I wasn't going to beat him. Without my strategy, I wasn't going to beat him. With the strategy, I think I would have done after penalties. But yeah, that was cut short, unfortunately. But a very deserved win by him. I think he started P2 and then won the sprint, won the race. So very good points for him. But yeah, for me, driver loser, I'm going to give it to myself. That could have been a race win, or if not, a guaranteed P2, and I'm going to have to settle for P4, which will sting for a while, I think. For me, team winner, I'm going to say Alpine again, second in a row. They got it in Div 4, they're going to get it in Div 3 as well. I've already spoke about Nick's race, but looking on the other side of the garage, Skiers, another reserve, so Alpine running double reserve. Skiers qualified 9th, is okay. I mean, for Alpine, that's looking like it could be some solid points. So actually, you know what, that's quite a good qualifying. Got dropped down to the back in the sprint. It was quite a poor sprint for both Alpine drivers. He got knocked down to P16. And then again, I believe lap 1 he got caught on an incident as well and dropped back again. He managed to make it up to P8 in the feature race. What a brilliant drive, and very unnoticed as well. I would be surprised if he doesn't get himself a racing seat as well, because that was fantastic. There's 2 seats open in the division, one in Williams and one in Mercedes right now, assuming that Nick takes the one in Alpine. I would be surprised to see, I'd be surprised if Skiers wasn't in one of them, because that was a really strong drive from him, and it's really good points for Alpine actually, as it did lift them above Haas in the overall Constructors' Championship. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that's going to stay like that after Haas's brilliant drive in Division 1, but as of right now, they are above. Looking in the actual Constructors' Championship, is in the Division Constructors, that has put them above Haas into P9, potentially setting their sights on Red Bull and Williams in the future, because Alpine have been lacking in this division. So hopefully this is some good points for them in the long term. My team loser, this one is a little bit of salt on this one. There is a little bit of hatred on this one. I'm going to go for Mercedes. The reason being that Big B could have genuinely given Mercedes some really good points. He turned up for one race, took me out 3 times and disappeared. And he could, I think if we hadn't collided, it would have been a 1-3 for Mercedes and I would have finished second. And he threw that away. CGM, what a brilliant drive from him. And his teammate was just nowhere near able to match him in consistency whatsoever. Alright, we move on to the only race that I did not actually watch live, and it is Division 2. We're going to move on to the Saturday's race. And yes, I watched all the highlights, watched all the clips, all that. And from what I've learned, goodness me, Moz Megan, what a finish to the race. Going for a very, very out there strategy. There was a late safety car with 2 racing laps left, and he decided to pit, going in for the new softs, and it really worked for him, making I think about 6, 7 overtakes on the final 2 laps. I advise everyone watching to check out the Division 2 highlights, enormous last lap action with last minute winner or something. What a brilliant win for Moz Megan. I believe it's his second of the season after winning in Bahrain, so I think it was Bahrain. And that is fantastic for Ferrari, which actually leads me on to my team winner, which is also Ferrari. Casper, very unlucky to drop back that late in the race. Obviously, he didn't decide to pit. But a driver it did really work out for was FaZe Dom. It's his best performance of the season by miles, getting that podium on track, nearly getting P2 and catching Zinks on the line. But unbelievable from him. Yeah, Casper very unlucky, but still P5 is very solid points. And for dominating the race the whole way through as well, and nearly securing that P1, it is evident that Ferrari's Division 2 lineup is incredible. And we've seen that all the way through the season. I'm going to give team win 100% to Ferrari. My driver loser is going to go to the man in the Haas. It's going to go to Epic OJ. There was a lot of talk on him, especially following Portugal, and how strong his first performance, his debut performance was. I know Portugal is a standout track for him. I've seen him saying that before. But the race here wasn't that easy for him. Obviously, starting off with that snap in the final lap, the penultimate corner of the sprint, and costing him 2 positions. That would have frustrated him, starting 4th instead of 2nd, where he probably should have done. And then, yeah, I mean, obviously, Haas signing him was very interesting. Haas being P9 at the time in the OCC, this could have been huge, signing a very strong driver, evidently, a potentially fruitful driver for them in points. And it just, I guess, didn't work out for him here in Spain. I've seen him in the chat being incredibly confident, feeling he can catch up to the drivers ahead and fight for this championship. I don't doubt that he can. I mean, we've got still many, many races to go. However, it is now going to be a little bit more difficult for him following a performance like this. I believe he DNF'd on the final lap or the second to last lap. I saw him spinning out of control out the back of the screen. So very unlucky. I mean, it wasn't easy for the other Haas counterpart, Haskell, getting caught up in an incident with for Epic in this sense, because he had a lot of, not necessarily pressure, but everyone saw him and saw him as this huge fighter. Can he scrap with Casper? Could he fight with Kino up at the front? And it didn't quite tick off for him in Spain. But I'm excited to see what we can do in Monza, 100% for sure. Finally, my team loser has got to be Haas. Once again, Corbin spinning out of control all the time. Started up at the front, I think it was P4, finished I want to say 8 or 9. Yeah, it could have been very good points. Ended up not being. This is following a trend with Corb, just spinning all the time and not being consistent. As for Luca Rosman, I actually don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he retired in the pits or crashed into something, but he just disappeared. He had to retire the car. I'm not sure why. So that's 2 drivers that are obviously very quick, and it didn't end up well for them. They've got minimal points pretty much, and yeah, very unfortunate for Williams. And finally, we lead on to Division 1, the race that was actually only a couple hours ago for me. One unbelievable finish, which leads me straight onto my driver winner, Raven West. An unintentional strategy that worked, and I will out him for saying this, because we both know, I think we all know, it was unintentional. He picked up a 5-second penalty for an illegal overtake with yellow flags on Ziagli as he went down the pit lane, or the pit straight, sorry, I should say. Meanwhile, a car that had retired in the pits was coming out, causing that yellow flag. So obviously, the 5-second penalty was removed post-race. However, had he pit, because at the end of the race, the rain started coming down. Everyone pit for intermediates bar 3 people: Raven, Choke, and Matthew May. And had he pit, which I'm imagining would have done anyway, he would have had to serve that 5-second penalty, pulling him out far, far back. Of course, it may have got removed, and he would have gone back up again. However, he doesn't want to be waiting around for that 5 seconds. He needs to be pushing forward and attacking. If he'd got stuck behind people, that would have completely cost his race. So he decided to stay out, and to stay out in the wet weather. I'll be honest, from a spectator point of view, his pace only really dropped off in the final 2 laps, if not the final lap. The rest of it, obviously he was losing time to the 2 Hasses that were charging behind on the intermediate tyres. It was looking like it was going to be some kind of Lando Norris play in Russia. But no, it really worked out for him. He was P8 when the race started coming down, or going into P7, I think. And ended up finishing the race in P3. Unbelievable. And when an unintentional strategy works out that well, I mean, you can only sit back and just look up at the ceiling and think, oh my goodness, what has happened here? What have I seen? What a final lap. And he was sliding through every single corner. Nicely let the Haas through. There was no point in fighting them, and definitely avoiding a potential almost indefinite collision between them, because he obviously had no control of the car, or very minimal control of the car as the rain came down. But I have to give him props. What an unbelievable drive, again from Raven, who always seems to pull something out of the bag. He always seems to have an emergency kit. When he's stuck in the midfield, stuck at the back, he seems to have an emergency button where he presses it and something goes well. Fantastic job once again from our championship leader, who scores another podium here in one of his favourite tracks here in Spain. And what a chaotic race at the end there for the wet weather to come down. Both other drivers that stayed out, Matthew May and Choke, spinning out on either the second to last or final lap. So that shows the amount of skill Raven had to have to keep that car going in a straight line. Unbelievable. And I have to give him props for that. Driver loser on the other side, I think it's fairly obvious who I'm going to say. Reese, really unlucky. He obviously, I think he probably was the fastest driver on track, getting stuck behind that wall of Haas that we've seen so many times this season before. Yeah, once I think it was Powell made a mistake before a couple laps before pitting. He was given a bit of clean air to attack Oliver, and of course after pit stops he got caught in a collision with Powell. From a spectator point of view, it was very difficult to see whose fault that was. Now looking at the stewards report, it was unfortunately Reese's fault, or more Reese's fault than it was Powell's. So he doesn't look like the Haas is going to be penalised. Yeah, for Reese to be looking to win, to then be getting absolutely nothing, 0 points. It's not only detrimental to himself and his championship, but obviously he came in late. It's incredibly detrimental to AlphaTauri, who are currently in a literally cutthroat battle with Alfa Romeo, who have had a relatively weak weekend here in Spain. This is where they could have really pushed forward before Monza, and while they have in other divisions, this wasn't the division for it. Obviously Mighty King having a difficult race at the back as well, so yeah, very unlucky for Reese. Another driver similar to what I said about Epic OJ in the last division, a driver that appeared in Portugal, it seemed to do very strong there, and he just hasn't been able to replicate it because of extra, it wasn't necessarily just because of him, but because of extra factors, hasn't been able to replicate the same result in Spain as well. So, yeah, very unlucky for him on his side. Team winner, it has to go to Haas. It was unreal to see what they were doing at the front. And the fact that they got a 1-2 in not only the sprint, but the feature race as well, that is enormous points for Haas. That is huge points for Haas. There has not been a team this season that has got a 1-2 in the sprint and the feature race in the same weekend. That was unbelievable by Haas. A team that is currently running P10 in the OCC. I think this should get them ahead of Alpine again. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Power, we've seen he's got pace. Oliver has been really coming out of his shell in the last few races. Fantastic. Clearly two front runners. And their teamwork was unbelievable. They stayed together the entire way through, giving each other DRS and swapping every once in a while, and which completely disabled Reese's ability to attack. He was not able to get past either of them because of that DRS, and obviously both Hasses had pace as well. But what really stuck out to me, just watch the feature race, watch the sprint. When they go, watch the feature race when they go into turn 1 together. They literally go side by side on purpose to not allow anyone to go past. I don't think there was anyone on that grid that could have even tried to break that Haas wall. That was unbelievable teamwork, and I'm so glad that Power didn't get that penalty, because to lose a 1-2 that was so deserved like that would have been really upsetting, because that was a brilliant drive by both of them. I think that's one of the best teamwork races we've seen all season from any team in any division. So I'm really happy to see the team that was able to be bestowed upon with this teamwork be Haas, a team that's struggling at the back. I see real bright things heading towards Haas, and it's been very interesting because at the end of 2023, it looked like the OCC was beginning to shape up where it was going to be. We're going to have a McLaren Ferrari at the front. We're going to have, Aston Martin versus Mercedes for P7. We're going to have the two Alphas, Tauri versus Romeo, and for P3. This weekend has turned that completely on its head. There's new fights going on because Red Bull have lost ground to Mercedes. Haas and Alpine are becoming one of the biggest rivalries at the back there in terms of points, because Haas have had a fantastic weekend. So have Alpine at the first half of it, and Haas have dominated the second half. So it's really, really exciting to see what's going on. This 2024 has brought literally a spatula to the fight and has mixed up the grid entirely, and I'm so excited for it. But I'm glad that Haas was the one that was able to get that 1-2. My team loser is going to be Alpine. This is upsetting for Alpine, and the big reason why their team loses is because of how strong their weekend's been so far. They had Peekaboo in P4 on Thursday. They had Neek in P3 on Friday. They had FaZe Dom in P3 on Saturday. Alpine were very weak today. They had a reserve for Edits, who was not able to do anything. I don't think he even finished the race. I think he retired in the pits. Their other driver, of course, being Conor Barry. Again, another very irrelevant drive, was at the back of the entire race. It's just upsetting one, I guess, for how strong they've been so far this weekend. I mean, of course, no team is going to be able to consistently replicate good results in all 4 divisions, especially a team that's fighting for the back. You'd expect them to be performing worse in all 4 divisions. But it's upsetting that Division 1, the finishing one, was the one that went so badly. And it went so badly for them. I don't think they scored a point. I'll be surprised if they do score a point. So, for that reason mainly, and also the fact that both drivers individually had poor races, I'm going to say Alpine are the team loser. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. I hope you like this new format. I like this new format. It's so much easier. I'm so comfy right now. I'm sat with a couple of monitors, with some notes next to me, and I can just give you all information, all 4 divisions all together. I'm really enjoying this format. I hope you do too. I hope we have all different divisions in the comments instead of just the 2 and 2 that we have before. The chaos is not over. I say that every single weekend. The chaos is not over. We're heading across to Italy. We're heading to Monza next weekend. Such an early time to have Monza. Only round 7. We're having Monza already. Of course, we had the high downforce in Spain. We're going to have the high downforce. What am I saying? We have the high downforce in Spain. We're going to have the high top speed in Monza. Then we're returning to Hungary for a similar race as we had in Spain. It's a full mixed match. It's going to be really interesting to see which TP is most prepared for this. And I know I am prepared too. I'm excited to see you guys all in Monza. We're going to head off there. But from me, I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.